need you to get caught up with that. Huh. Also, my closed captions aren't on. There's all kinds of stuff that's stream settings, stream health. Wait, there it goes. Hey! A few seconds ago, it just realized that I am streaming right now. Okay. We are back to streaming on YouTube. Good. We got that going again. What do you mean open widget? Aha. Hey, there you go. Yeah, thanks for letting me know that I had a problem in the first place. I'll probably be able to merge. I hope I can just merge those two videos together. Yeah, and I'm glad I didn't have to close Twitch out or close my OBS or do anything like that at all. But yeah, absolutely, Gimmick Francie. They'll be like, even the heat waves in Gaza are the fault of Hamas. Yeah. Absolutely. Whatever they can do to push the narrative of those evil people over there, and not the evil people who are starving and making everybody homeless and preventing access to health care and, you know, that stuff. Manufacturing consent. That's something I haven't heard Plastic Pills say yet, is manufacturing consent. I wonder why they're going specifically out of their way to avoid the common and often used term to describe the exact idea that we're talking about here. So I just thought that was interesting. That, I mean, that's Noam Chomsky's idea. I mean, maybe there are some issues with Noam Chomsky's idea. That might be why Plastic Pills is avoiding using that term. Inventing reality is something that I don't think he said, but a few times when he's talking, he'll flash words on, and I think inventing reality is literally one of the things that he has flashed on the video before. That because that's what it is. Absolutely, and it's such a hard thing for people to understand. Like I want to draw attention to. Let's if you remember that the student that I was complaining about 2 weeks ago, that was very Christian and had a hard time trying to understand why they needed to find objective criteria that other people cared about in the world, right? Because that's how I teach ethics, is that if you're advocating for a moral position, your advocacy must be grounded in something that other people care about. Not because you're trying to make a persuasive argument, but because there's no other reason to make an argument. Otherwise, you're going through the motions of emotivism, something that we've talked about before. Moral emotivism is where you talk about states of affairs in the world, and you might object to them, you might take issue with them, you might think that they're perfectly fine states of affairs in the world. But nothing with your language is implying that something in the world needs to change. That's just emotivism. If we're doing ethics, that means that we are using our words so that we can capture ideas that are meaningful to other people so that we can change what's going on in the world to make the world a better place. That's what ethics is. And this requires that we find objective criteria in the world that other people find meaningful, right? Appealing to science. some people find science to be a very convincing, very compelling form of evidence. So if we're talking about why abortion should be legal and women should have access to it, we could talk about the medical necessity of saving these people's lives versus letting people die for no good reason, right? For no good medical reason, because we have mechanisms by which we can save this person's lives or these kinds of people's lives or these lives in general, and we're just not because of some law or policy, right? So that's us looking to objective states of affairs in the world that other people can look at and verify with their own experiences that those states of affairs in the world are real, such that they ought to care about what it is that you're talking about, your ethics, your moral position, your advocacy, what you think is just. And we have a tendency to get caught up in this objectifying process. This is what we use to build convincing arguments, is we use evidence. We look at states of affairs in the world that other people will also look to identify and recognize. And we think of reality as this thing that we look at, that we can go to, that we can point to certain things, and that there's a lot of coherence. This is a mistake in the first place, in thinking about reality, because it is more the case that we build reality with our ideas and what we believe, and what is real materially in the world is the product of what we have come together to put forward, that we have posited. What we have posited with our thoughts and ideas and with our actions as compelled by those thoughts and ideas. So it's such a conundrum, because we want something meaningful and tangible that we can use as reference for us to have meaningful conversations. But the way that we think about that process is presupposing a bunch of mistakes about the way that reality works in the first place. But now I'm just talking in circles. I think I've gotten to the point well enough. And if not, then somebody please ask me a question about it, and then I'll explain it a little bit better. But yeah, but yeah, completely. Let's back to the video.
Capitalists did this. The capitalists can call this a business expense. They can hire Ivy Lee on their behalf. And he discovered that, yeah, image is a commodity, that signs belong to a kind of economy, and that reality itself is for sale via these images within a sign system. It sounds like we're winding down, but we're really not. I got a lot more. American capitalism, fundamentally, it makes you insane, because your desires, your hopes, your definitions of basic words, freedom especially, this is a good one, who you think is good, who you think is bad, good people versus evil. At our point in history now, we have reason to doubt that our desires are even our own. We have good reason to think that they, might have been planted there as a part of advertising or public relations campaign. So yeah, again, the most reasonable response to this, I argue, is to distrust your own beliefs, to believe that even in your most reflective, critical state, you're still delirious, because ultimately there's no way to distinguish which of your thoughts are yours and which were astroturfed. Because for sure, our brains seem to be pretty malleable, but I mean, this is a slogan at this point, but I don't think they were meant to adapt to this kind of world. So insanity seems pretty reasonable. If this is a trial, then we're at the part where I should probably give you some evidence instead of just making sweeping declarations and repeating slogans. So we'll ask, how did Ivy Lee do it? I can show you his playbook and some of his strategies. Some of these I think you're just going to go, well, duh, that goes without saying. And that would be because these strategies are so widely utilized today, but they weren't widely utilized when he utilized them. And of course, he didn't invent propaganda or disinformation or whatever, but he was the first one to kind of put them all under the same roof. And he got really rich by bringing these all into his shop. In 1933, Time magazine said, they commented on his magnificently swank living in New York City alongside a list of his client friends, and you can recognize a few of these. One thing we can for sure credit Lee with inventing is the fetish object known as corporate image or brand image. Because for his clients, this meant that if you don't like what the media is saying about you, do their job for them. They'll be happy that you came and did their job. So this is strategy 1.
You don't like what is being said, change the conversation.
Yeah, this is 60 years prior to even Don Draper. So what Lee did on behalf of his clients was bombard the big newspapers with content. What he wanted was that if anyone read anything about his clients, they are his words and not a muckraker journalist. So the information about a corporation or family, Rockefellers, gets fire hosed out into the public. This makes it so a bad story is less consequential if it does eventually break. It's just drowned out by the noise. Check this out. I'll just show it to you. These are his words, Lee's words. We shall give to the newspapers some kind of story practically every morning and every afternoon. These stories will be conceived with reference to relating to our story as a whole over a given period.
The opposition party is the media. And the media can only, because they're dumb and they're lazy, they can only focus on one thing at a time. All we have to do is flood the zone. Every day we hit them with 3 things. They'll bite on one and we'll get all of our stuff done. Bang, bang, bang.
So this is what he did for his clients. Now, newspapers would often publish his press releases verbatim. This is still true today. Unedited, because, as a newspaper editor, well, for them, it's free work. It's professionally written content from former journalists. So, Lee invented the press release, basically. And this is fundamental. I don't know what this is. Can you consider it misinformation? I guess misinformation kind of implies that it's false or inaccurate. And they don't really say things that are necessarily false or inaccurate. They just say part of the truth hundreds and hundreds of times over again. And that truth, half-truth, repeated endlessly becomes reality itself. It lulls the audience to sleep with respect to your client and their story and what they're doing. So they're more ready to accept what they're told. Like in one way, your audience just hearing the same thing over and over and over again and not realizing that it's propaganda, not realizing where it's coming from, they're likely to just accept it. They're likely to accept the story. They're more likely to resist negative stories in the future. And of course, this still happens. This gives whole new meaning to fake news, right? Because PR firms, of course, don't have editorial control over what's published. But de facto, since they have more money, more of their words are likely to get published by the end of the day. And there's a lot of authors, even videos on YouTube fawning over Ivy Lee, but he doesn't respect you. He speaks of audiences and masses and messages. He says audiences do not reason or think. And as regards that, the proof is kind of in the pudding. We can just go to his words. This is what Lee thinks of us. Success of dealing with crowds rests upon the art of getting believed in. Getting believed in requires leaders who can fertilize the imagination and organize the will of the crowds. These leaders are him. Since crowds do not reason, they can only be organized and stimulated through symbols and phrases. So yeah, phrases, slogans. And he suggested that his sponsors, the big capitalists, just flood the press. They're still doing this today. Like Neutrogena putting this documentary out on the consequences of sun damage. Or Nike, they have their own film studio putting out documentaries on inspiring athletes. But these are also inspiring athletes sponsored by Nike. And reality and the message, I mean, if you do find them together at some time, reality and messaging, that's a coincidence. They have nothing to do with each other anymore. And Lee was the first person to spell this out and say they don't have to have anything to do with each other. The key to defeating bad press is to get your message out first, more often, and louder, so that by the time some journalist gets his critical headline published, the audience is already tired of hearing about everything that's been said. It's like, I don't know, stimulus exhaustion or something like that. So Taylor Swift produces and stars in a documentary that portrays her as a hero against the haters. Is she a hero? What if she was a war criminal? Yeah, anyone can make a documentary about themselves, as we have learned. And we see this freak mass murderer recite his edition of the 12 Rules for Life. And we learn that, no, it's just that we don't understand. Like, he was just doing his job. See? Okay, yeah. Lee's job was to, on behalf of his rich people, tell their story louder than the haters in the more popular papers. Today it's on the streaming apps. And now, I mean, this is, if you think this is dark, it's going to get real dark here real quick. Let's skip to the second most reprehensible thing that Lee did. After, number one, being a brand consultant for the Nazis. And I don't mean Nazis also like everyone's a Nazi. I mean meeting with Joseph Goebbels, Nazi. Okay, let's go to the second worst thing he did. Just for me, if you would, pretend. Say you're a capitalist and you own a company. You own a big company. Everything's going fine. You're paying your workers. They're making their wage. You're making a lot of money and all's well. But then your workers go on strike because, I don't know, whatever. A communist told them that they could get paid more if they all stopped working at the same time. Now, this happened to the Rockefellers in an event that's now known as the Colorado Coalfield War. So the miners are mining. Everyone's happy. Then they start whining. They're whining because they want to not die at work and because they want to get paid more because they could die at work. It caused a big hullabaloo. So Mr. John Rockefeller, he went to our hero, Ivy Lee. And Ivy Lee put out a press release, which was what he
Those lazy workers, how dare they ask for, conditions in which they don't die from the work? How dare they?
He was getting pretty good at doing. It was run in the newspapers, and it was called The Struggle in Colorado for Industrial Freedom. Now get this. Ivy Lee stole this phrase to overwrite it, the struggle for industrial freedom. He stole it from a popular socialist who you've probably heard of, Eugene Debs. And now when Debs said the phrase, the struggle for industrial freedom, he meant freedom for the employees, for the workers, who he thought should have a share in the profits of the company because they're basically risking their lives in a coal mine every day. Now, Ivy Lee stole Debs' terminology and deployed it for the exact opposite purpose. He claimed his meaning for the struggle of the industrial freedom was that the striking workers were impinging upon the Rockefellers' freedom to do business. This is America, after all. Yeah.
So, actually, this is, let me talk about this for a minute. This kind of surprised me. I was blindsided this past semester that just ended. I had 2 students in this last semester who, when we were in the week where we were talking about rights, what kind of rights people have, what kind of that's what the discussion board assignment is. Asks the students to identify a right that they have and to describe that right, what it means to have that right, who gets that right, who doesn't get that right, why, what, talk about the meta aspects of the right that you have. And two of my students this semester, for the first time in all the time I've been using this discussion board, two students both wrote about the right to work, the right to basically the right to be exploited is really what they meant. Of course, that's not the words that they used, but that's absolutely what they said. And what they were talking about is the right for entrepreneurs and business owners to own their businesses without government interference, and for those employees to be able to, or employers to be able to hire employees. And these people are putting themselves in the employee. They're telling me that they have rights, and that they have the right to earn a wage, that they have a right to get hours, that they have a right to... And I'm like, you don't understand what rights are, actually. No, that is not rights. Your right to be exploited is not a right. The right for capitalists to exploit you is not a right. You're getting this all wrong. But, I mean, it's not my job to tell other people how to see the world or how to see themselves in the world. I did my best to offer some feedback that's like, maybe you ought to rethink how you think about freedom and rights, and, that's not it. It's just so gross. But this is the kind of thing. What Plastic Pills is talking about is the way that we used to have an understanding about what these words mean. This is me. I'm talking about me for over the last 2 or 3 weeks. That we really. We used to understand differently our relationship to the world. And it's really hard to articulate, and I've been trying to for weeks to articulate this idea. It used to be the case. I feel like it used to be the case that we lived in a reality in which people could have ideas, and those ideas would be received in some kind of social way, and there would be some kind of feedback, social feedback that was given as a result to those utterances. Somehow we don't live in that reality anymore. Somehow the world has become, reality has become such that we can make up these ideas about what rights and freedom are. And because our truths are so subjective, people's beliefs override the sublime. That's what I think the problem actually boils down to. Is that there is, because it's not about our words. It's our words don't make reality what it is. It's not really quite what I mean. I mean, yes, it is, but literally different than that. What I mean is that
It'll be anarchy.
Hey, that's an alert. Somebody followed. Welcome. Thank you for the follow. It's supposed to pop something up in the text in the chat so that I can see the name of the person who followed, but I don't. Well, that's going to be a difficult name to say anyways. Sedia? Sedia Motuli? No, there's not two L's in the end. Maltotil. Maltotil. Sedai Maltotil. Well, that's a name. That's pretty awesome. I wonder if that's like Sedai is in like Aes Sedai from Wheel of Time. Spelled the same, right? No, that's right. Sedia. It's Aes. Aes Sedai. Aes Sedai. Or something like that. It's been a long time since I've read the book. I guess I could just go look at. I've got the Wheel of Time, a few of the Wheel of Time books on my shelf over there. But, anyways, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. Oh yeah, I was trying to figure out this. Yeah, so there's a disconnect. This is what I mean. We used to be able to use our words, and with our words, we could draw other people's attention to states of affairs in the world, such that they could see those states of affairs and understand those states of affairs, in such a way that there was something meaningful for them to take out of it, because of your words. That you could say, what you are doing violates my rights, and that utterance, the words would draw people's attention, other people's, not just somebody's, attention to a very real thing that's very real about the world, and that there would be some kind of coherence, some kind of concurrence between the utterances that you are violating my rights and the states of affairs. No, this is not really quite the right way either to think about it. That's also not the mistake. It's We've lost access to the sublime, and I don't know how else to describe. I'm trying to use a whole bunch of other words to explain what that means, and boy, I'm having a real hard time. We've lost access to the sublime. That there are states of affairs about the world that are true, that reveal themselves to us through our rational investigation of the world. That's how the sublime informs us of what is by our... it's a reciprocal process, and it's a two-way street. It's a reciprocal process that we undergo to understand reality. And then reality works back with us to confirm or deny or to reveal or to contradict or to negate or to give us some kind of affirmation about the state of affairs in reality. I'm just going to have to, I'm struggling to find a more clear way to articulate the idea. But I think that I'm at my wit's end so far as that goes. Well, maybe I should just stop talking and let Plastic Pills finish the video. Maybe they'll say it. Maybe they've got words for this thing that I am having a really hard time trying to figure out how to articulate. Yeah, so let's go back to Plastic Pills and see if they can fill in the gaps for me. Maybe they can help me out.
Yeah, the struggle for industrial freedom became that the Rockefellers aren't free enough. The richest family that's ever existed. But most importantly here, he had way more access of getting his version of the phrase out into the papers. And his version won. When the audience eventually heard the struggle for industrial freedom, they heard Lee's voice instead of Deb's. That these workers are being
Okay, part of the difficulty is it has to do with this idea of how ideas change over time. And it's not just again, it's this connection with belief and what's real. When a narrative begins to shift about man, I would need to use a good legal case to illustrate this. I should use a legal case. That's how I should. Okay, well, I'm gonna go find that legal case. Let Plastic Pills keep talking. But yeah. I'll finish unpacking this at some other time. But that maybe that would help. So I know I'm doing a terrible job of articulating the idea of what I'm trying to get across. But it's. Freedom is a perfect example of what's gone wrong, of reality, it's us betraying ourselves in the creation of reality. It's us creating a prison, where we are. We see what we see as and understand as creating avenues for us to be free when we believe what we are doing is creating avenues for this body to be free in the world. I am always making more barriers and making more prisons. Every time I believe that I'm doing something to make myself more free, I'm always not. That's part of it, and it's because of how we have been conditioned to understand freedom, what it is, how it works, and how we get it, right? That we must go through states as mechanisms for creating positive laws which protect us to give us freedoms. It's backward. The whole thing is absurd the fuck already. Despite the fact that this is how we understand it. We can't think of freedom in any other kind of way. actually, than to have a state above us, over the top of us, that's creating a positive world of laws, right? And we can't think of freedom in any other way than restricting ourselves. That's part of the problem. And if we trace back the language and the understanding that has not just colloquially been had about these ideas, but about how they've been written about and how they've been studied, the rational analysis that's been done on them, they've all only been corrupting the source from the beginning. Is I think part of the difficulty of what I'm trying to get across is that actually, I don't have anything more to say yet. That's it. Yeah, and I didn't even need the legal case to illustrate that. But it will be helpful for me to pull up that legal case later, the one that I'm thinking of, that I can't remember, that I know that I know that I don't remember. I know that I'll be able to remember it at some point. It's something that I've used for class. So it's a resource that I know that I have with my school stuff. I just have to go find that stuff and look through. And then when I start looking through that stuff, the breadcrumbs I'll remember immediately, probably right off the rip, as soon as I start looking exactly what it is. All right. Anyways, we'll let Plastic Pills get back to it, because I've already made my point as best as I'm going to be able to articulate this right now. Anyway, it's going to need further elucidation for sure. For sure, it's going to need some further elucidation, and that will be incoming. Just not right this minute.
Selfish and refusing to work, and that's our world. Guess what happened next? They hired cops to machine gun the workers and their wives and their kids. Yeah, yikes. Don't miss what's happening here because of all the gory details. Ivy Lee is seeding the ground, or what he calls fertilizing the imagination, so that when the strikers' families are eventually murdered a few months later, public opinion is, they're saying, well, there's two sides here.
We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. We sacrificed. We cared about our neighbors.
Public opinion is not going to be explicitly pro-murder, but the strikers weren't doing their jobs, right? They were attacking the freedom to do business. And the Rockefellers, well, they have the right to defend themselves, right? I mean, of course, we don't want anyone to die, but yeah, you have to admit, in a way, they had it coming, right? You know what I mean? Little bit. Of course, no, we're against women and children dying, but over there in Colorado, it's complicated. It's complicated. These strikers really weren't the best people, if you don't mind me saying. I mean, you can't say they totally didn't deserve it, right?
Hamas is not a democracy. There's not an independent health bureaucracy that is trying to do its best. Every doctor you speak to, every hospital director you speak to, works under the gun of Hamas. They are not independent. If they speak out of turn, they will pay a price. It's like speaking to a doctor in North Korea or a doctor in the former Soviet Union. They don't have independent opinions. They have to follow the party line, and if not, they face violent consequences.
This is a strategy that Ivy Lee birthed into our world. This comes to mind because I just saw it, but this was, as a strategy, it was really extraordinarily depicted in the second arc of this Star Wars show I watched, Andor. Okay, spoiler alert. Give you a second. You good? In this depiction, the Empire starts, I think it's like a 4-year.
Space on the start. Word. Welcome in, Trash. Good to see you. Fair amounts, yeah. Oh yeah, that's I paused it in case anybody wants to cares about Andor. If anybody cares about the Andor spoilers, I'll give you a second, I guess. I don't care about the Andor spoilers. I don't care about spoilers. When it comes to this kind of media, I generally don't remember it. It happens to me all the time. I'll start watching something and then I realize that I've already seen it. It usually takes me about halfway through the movie before I realize that I've seen it already. So spoilers don't work on me. They don't even affect my ability to watch a show at all because I've already forgotten. If you've told me about the spoiler, I have already forgotten about it. But by the time I've watched the episode, I promise. So I don't care about spoilers, but in case you do, you know, then by all means take the appropriate precautions. I guess just mute me for a few.
Propaganda campaign against this one planet because they want to mine it and destroy it.
At the end, did I miss all the adventure? Oh, well, we haven't had much adventure today. To be honest, I've been goofing off. I've been trying to get more of the stream stuff set up. You can see I've got YouTube up here and then Twitch above that. I was unsuccessful so far in the merging of the chats. I'll have to figure that out some other time. But because it was beginning to frustrate me, I just moved on to something else. What am I in the middle of doing right now? What was the last thing that I was trying to do? Yeah, trying to get things ironed out a little bit more. And school's been good. I guess I should answer that question too. It's pretty much done. Like, it's such a strange thing anymore. It's a really strange thing for me to say that I'm done with school. Because it almost never happens. But I'm caught up. Yeah, it's not enough chat. Once chat gets busy, that's going to be a problem. Well, I'll finish talking about school and then I'll address that. But I reported grades last week for the last semester that's over. There weren't any problems or any issues that I had to resolve, so at this point, that semester is done, and I can officially no longer think about it. I don't have to dedicate any time and energy to thinking about that class at all. It's done. The new semester that begins on the 20th of this month, so not very far away, in 10 days. The next semester that begins in 10 days, that course, I have already set up the whole course shell, done all of the announcements, updated all of the links. Yep, and the only thing that I have left to do for that class is to populate the course roster, which doesn't make any sense until, 2 or 3 days before the class starts, because anything that I put on the roster now, I'm going to have 7 or 8 students added and then dropped from that roster, so I usually wait till right before that semester begins. I'll probably do that on the 18th. That Monday, right before the class begins, is when I'll get my course rosters done. And then the school semester that I have that begins after the 20th will begin September 1st. And I don't gain access to that course until tomorrow. So I can't even do that school stuff right now if I wanted to. And even after I get access to it tomorrow, I'll probably finish with that by noon. I should have that whole class set up, ready, all the announcements and things done. SNHU is way easier than Virginia. There's a lot more work that I have to do with the Virginia courses because I design 100% of the courses. Whereas with Southern New Hampshire, I don't design anything. I just make the announcements and then grade the papers. That's really the only thing that I do for that class. It's really it's difficult being so hands off. As I feel like it's hands off anyway. But that's okay. It's okay. But then I'm caught up. So even after the school semester begins on the 20th, my students don't have anything to do for the first week except for read the syllabus and then read the introduction to the course. There's no philosophy that we're even going to do the first week. So it's really not that stressed. Right now is the least stressful time of the year for me, actually. Like right today. This is the peak of my not stressed so far as school stuff. What will you do with yourself? Well, I've got a lot of other stuff to do. I still have so many other things to do. So, I mean, stream, that's what I'm working on right now, is trying to get everything ironed out for stream. And I have to get my van fixed because I'm driving to Shangri-La. And it's a long trek. It's going to be, I think, 16 hours. It's a 16-hour drive. Maybe it's 18. It's many hours. It's a lot of hours. That I have to drive to get to Shangri-La so that I can enjoy that festival in my van. And there's lots of repairs that I've got to do to my van in the next 2 weeks to get that ship shape. So that's what I'm going to be focused on is getting my life back in order. So like, this is an unusual thing for me, for there to be stuff. This is my altar. And this is just something on my altar that's not supposed to be there. And this stuff here, this all needs to get cleared away. All the stuff, I mean, my face is in the way, so you can't see it. There's everything on this green chest. There's not supposed to be anything on that green chest. That's all clutter. That's all things that I need to attend to. Those are tasks. Those are, because if I can't see, if I don't have a physical representation for the things that I need to get done, they will never get done. So that's what this is a physical representation for me to remember the other things that I've got to get done to straighten out my life. So that's what I'm going to be doing the next few days. And I'm going to try to do it in a, what's the way? Nisa said, not overthinking. I'm going to try and do it in a not overthinking way. Because I've been thinking a little bit too hard about stuff lately, the last few days. But then you realize, and then you try to make it better, and take mental health days when you need to, which is kind of what I've yesterday and the day before. Friday I was supposed to go to a protest, and I just didn't. I just didn't. And then there was another protest on Saturday, and an organization meeting after it, and I've been really looking forward to this for weeks, and I just didn't do that either. I just didn't. I needed to not do that. I needed to actually just sit for a little bit. There was yesterday there was a good bit of time that I just sat in my van, just sitting. Just sitting and letting my brain, decompress, just being, looking at the scenery and taking in the van, and just, because I've got lots of stuff that I'm trying to do on it, with it, to it, and I just needed some time to not do. I needed some time to just, let my brain waxing philosophical. That's something that I haven't had the opportunity to do in weeks. Really, is to wax philosophical and to just be and to just allow myself to wander gently. So I'm trying to be a little bit more thoughtful about that and a little bit more mindful about that, my mental health and taking care of myself and not overthinking and not pushing myself too hard. And boy, it's tough sometimes though. It really can be a bit of a chore, but it takes practice. That's really, I think, the lesson that I'm learning is that for me to maintain a healthy relationship with my advocacy, that requires me to think about myself a little bit differently. Right? Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. We need those to go below here. Oh, and that's where I was looking for that other source. That's where that other source disappeared to. Okay. Right here. That's what I was working on. I was like, what was it that I was working on? And I went back to the fire button. I couldn't remember what it was I was working on. But now I remember. The thing that I was working on now. Damn it, I just forgot. I had it. Dagnabbit. Oh, it's this thing that you all can't see anyway, but it's the thing that I'm looking at. It's supposed to be displaying. No, that's not what it is. It's trash that. It's supposed to be displaying. Where'd it go? The number of subs. Copy. Because Nisa has kindly already given me a sub for this month, which might be my first sub for this month. I'll have to double check. Right now my counter is at 3, so maybe I got a sub. I don't know, on the 5th. Yeah, because I didn't stream on Friday like I was supposed to. I streamed on the 6th, Wednesday. I must have gotten something there. But yeah, every time, or it's not every time, I'm supposed to have a sub counter, and I've put the sub counter here on my Streamlabs. Let me see if I can cue it. Okay, so there's a 3. You see that it's on the video. There's a 3 way over there that's appearing. Here, let me put it over here. That way I can point to it. Browser, add existing, and we want sub counter. Okay. So if I test it again, right, there's a 3. It's right here. It's really hard to see. This is supposed to be my sub counter. But it keeps disappearing. Whenever I test it, it shows up and then it disappears, but it's just supposed to be there. It's not an event, it's not a trigger, it's just supposed to be there. And it won't, I can't figure out how to get it to just be there. Somehow. So that's the thing that I'm working on right now. Is trying to get my sub counter to actually be there. save that while I was listening to the video. I was thinking earlier, it'd be neat to have a group of folks dedicated to helping set up and maintain stream setups, community fun to keep them afloat. Hopefully, successful streamer could further their income. Yeah, no, I think that that's a really good idea. And it also reminds me, I think it would be helpful for me, if you are interested, Trashnomancer, in taking on a role, probably like a TA role in the Discord, because I really, really, really like the ideas that you had for surveys, right? When you and I were talking about that, and I really don't know how to do that at all. And I have a hard time finding time to do anything with Discord or in Discord. I mean, I probably will this week anyway, but it would be helpful for me to have somebody else that could be in charge of helping me keep up with and maintaining some of the stuff in the Discord. If you're interested, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But right. Yeah. I'll hit you up on the Discord for sure. I didn't mean to, spring it on you or right in the stream or anything, but I'll hit you up and we'll talk about it. Because I think it just needs a little bit of help keeping up with everything. So let me check on YouTube. It's been a while since I've heard anything from YouTube, and I don't have a thing. When I'm streaming on Twitch, I can always see Twitch and whether it's active, and if I get disconnected or interrupted, I'll know immediately, usually. But I have... That's interesting. Thank you, Street Cat Love. It appears that the chat is not updating because that's it's not showing those messages. So I know I'm gonna have to create a new source for that. Yay! It's okay. It's really not that big of a deal. That'll be a quick fix. It'll be nice when I no longer have to do these fixes and then things will just work. But we're not there yet. We're going to be there soon. That's the goal. We're going to get there. So we've got that. And where did the thing go that was incorrect? Let's make it correct. That's the Twitch chat. That's definitely not what we want. That's definitely not what we want. And that's also not what we want. There it is. So why did I click that on the first time? When I clicked that the first time? And now that's weird. Okay. At least it popped it to the bottom. Now, that's still a little bit confusing. But thank you, Street Cat Love, for putting some lines in that chat. So I could tell that it wasn't updating. Also, I would like to make these chats a little bit more opaque. Yeah, also fairly comfortable saying no. Good. I appreciate that. I really need to work on my ability to say no more. Sometimes I do end up committing myself to things that I'm not always actually prepared to follow through on. How do I do that? I need to add a Filter. Oh, I should finish watching the video while I'm doing this, but I can't do that and this, but that's okay. Yeah, let's finish watching the video. We're almost to the end. Plastic Pills is made some really great points. Let's finish up this video and let me tool around with some more of these things.
The inexplicable resistance to
imperial norms, many people.
all the propaganda. What's the obsession with the government? What are they after? Smear campaign is an opening move, not an end game. I need the end game.
So they start the propaganda campaign that, you know, these aren't the best people. They're kind of arrogant. They're kind of smug. They think they're better than everyone else. And this kind of escalates.
Genocide. And that truth has been exiled from this chamber.
So this is what Ivy Lee birthed into our reality and a galaxy far, far away. And I can't believe I'm recommending a Star Wars show to you, but using Ivy Lee's strategy, because the public is kind of inundated, you know, people are upset, but they understand. They understand this is a complicated situation with many perspectives. And you know, these French aliens, they are a little bit entitled. You have to admit. I mean, we're against genocide, of course, but, you know, I can't think of a better example of Ivy Lee's strategy for misinformation and spin and how it leads to the mass death of innocents than this fictional TV show about French aliens that produces public consent in favor of a... All right, let's move to some other ways that Ivy Lee pioneered to dodge bad press for his clients. This is strategy, I don't know what we're on, 2, 3, wherever we are. The next strategy is this: change bad news into good news. And how do you do that? Well, Ivy Lee's best go at it was philanthropy. Good one. Doing a photo shoot of the Rockefellers going to an orphanage and handing out presents to the orphans. I mean, it's corny that people fell for this, but they did. Like politicians, they wouldn't raise taxes on someone who gives presents to orphans, would they? No. Or when you're accused of crimes like, I don't know, hiring a private militia to gun down your employees, then instead do an interview about the new med school or art gallery or library that you're going to pay for. Put out a press release for that new building that you're going to put up. Ivy Lee himself actually named Rockefeller Center in downtown Manhattan. So next strategy, I think this is 3, maybe 4, form trade associations. Trade associations are like solidarity for capitalists. Now, Ivy Lee did this first for the oil industry, then for the mining industry, and then all the other industries basically copied the idea. A trade association is a pool of money for firms and corporations that they can use to, you know, get lobbyists, to lobby politicians on behalf of the whole industry. They can pay scientists and doctors to publish research about how your industry is doing nothing wrong, you know. Smoking's not really bad for you. Climate change is not real. Pizza is a vegetable, that kind of thing. So these are the founding strategies of Lee's discipline, which is getting paid to mind control the public. Not bad. So all these new industries immediately exploded into existence. Political media campaigns, professional lobbying, advertising, propaganda, and news. The lying, fake news media. So America, as I've been suggesting, I'd consider it a media simulation. Lots of people call it a democracy, but I think it has a lot more in common with wrestling. And you need to understand that Lee didn't just change history for fun. He was merely doing his job. But who hired him? Chrysler, the Pennsylvania Railroad, Standard Oil, Bethlehem Steel, the Democratic Party, the Nazis. He met Hitler. He met Goebbels, at least according to one source. If you've taken high school history, you're going to hear that the American public did not want to get involved in another European war. And that's why the USA, even though they're very brave, did not start fighting Germany until 43. What they don't tell you is why American public opinion was this way. So I will tell you. This was, of course, a direct result of Ivy Lee, whose client list was the central reason why the United States did not declare war on Germany while their allies were getting owned. The short reason for why public opinion was what it was is that America's super rich had significant investments in Germany. So they pumped millions of dollars into a variety of groups. One of the most famous is the America First Committee. Is there an echo? Is there an echo in here? To oppose entering the war. Like Henry Ford was a prominent member. Oh yeah, and he had factories in Nazi Germany. I mean, Lee's right. Look at this stupid crowd. They all believe that they are here individually opposing war on the grounds of their free will, fidelity, their beliefs that they've reasoned out. But they're actually just puppets acting in service of Ford factories in Germany. Those factories in 1938 were converted into making military equipment with rubber and steel that were shipped into Germany by Henry Ford. Rearmament was like huge for many American companies, and war would mean risking their property, risking their investments. And maybe you already knew that. But did you know, this is something I learned, after the war, the U.S. government paid millions of dollars in damages to Ford and GM for bombing their German factories. Their factories, these are factories that were using slaves to make trucks and rockets for the Nazi military, and the U.S. paid Ford and GM damages. Why? So yeah, we think that America is insane now. Yeah. Now, I really want to come back to this picture because it looks like a lot of pictures. Now, these people were convinced by the media, by newspaper ads and radio broadcasts. All this was made by PR people and paid for by billionaires. They had no idea that they were just living in this simulation of politics. They thought they were doing this for their ethical beliefs or supporting what they believe is best for America. America first. But they're deluded. And it's so easy to say that, looking from outside of a cult to in one. So back to Ivy Lee now. Ford had been making a big deal about Ford, but he wasn't a client of Lee's. Though his son was. While Ford Motor Company and GM were American companies that were set up in Germany, there were also German companies set up in America. Notably, Interessengemeinschaft Farbenindustrie, or IG Farben. Ford Jr. was on the board of the American IG Farben, and Ivy Lee was their PR manager. Now, if you want to evaluate the most evil companies in history, there are some bad ones. There's a lot of reprehensible stuff. There's coups, there's slavery, there's private militaries. But even with all that on here, IG Farben has a shot at the top spot. They are a contender for the most evil company that has ever existed. Like, first of all, straight up, World War II could not have happened without IG Farben. They produced the rubber, explosives, and synthetic fuel used by the German military. So yeah, bad, but not as bad as this. Half of IG Farben's workforce in 1941 were slaves in concentration camps. They did medical experiments on prisoners in concentration camps, and they were the manufacturer and distributor of a pesticide you might have heard of, Zyklon B. Yeah. And it's this IG Farben that was paying Ivy Lee millions of dollars in the adjusted for inflation, millions of dollars in the 30s. This is the Naziest of Nazi companies. Now, the powers that really run America, those are the same powers that got Ivy Lee his job representing IG Farben. Why do you think he's paid millions of dollars? He was not paid millions of dollars for advice, okay? He was sent by his American clients serving their interests to figure out a way to salvage IG Farben's brand image in America. Because its image was Nazi. Now, his client list had a lot of money invested in this company. This company was the largest or one of the largest companies in Europe at the time. And these American investors were afraid that they'd lose it all if the American government decided that they were no longer going to do commerce with the Nazis, which they officially did in 1939. So Ivy Lee's professional opinion, he did a little tour. He met with Goebbels, apparently Hitler. I only found one source that said that. And he met with, the leadership, the board of IG Farben. His professional advice to them was that they had to tone down the anti-Semitism, because he told them, Mr. Goebbels, there's a lot, I know you hate these Jews, but there's a lot of them in America. They have political power. And if you keep harping on this Jew stuff, there could be economic consequences here. So if you know what's good for you, if you want to keep doing business over there, if you want to keep Henry Ford's son on the board of your company, you're gonna have to adjust the volume a little bit. If you know what's good for you, adjust the volume. But I want to tell you what his PR proteges did. So after World War II, the brave Allied forces swept across Europe. They discovered IG Farben and their role in the Holocaust. They tried the leaders at the Nuremberg trials. Their factories were seized and shut down. And the leaders who so enthusiastically abetted to the Nazis, they were convicted and died in prison. Just kidding!
We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons.
No, actually, the Allies, they nominally disbanded IG Farben. So instead of one company, it became 5. But guess what? The same Nazis that were running it before kept running it. And while the Nuremberg trials, they did try 9 people. 9 people went to prison for war crimes. And I'm laughing. I'm laughing not because it's funny, but because their sentences ranged from 2 to 8 years. And guess what? None of them served their full sentence. These guys, they were SS officers. They managed the factories at Auschwitz. And the longest term that any of them spent in prison was 3 years. Now, guess what happens after? They all got board seats on the splinters of IG Farben, including Bayer. They all got promotions. They got board seats. They lived happily, and they retired in peace. Now, of course, you can ask why. Who did that and why? Why did the good guys do that? If they're the good guys, why is this good guy behavior? Yeah, forgiving SS officers. I guess my guess is that no one knows how to kill communists better than SS officers. So they had more urgent matters to attend to. But of course, that's not the story that's written by PR specialists. America PR.
No lies detected, though.
They created the country we now know as Imaginary America, that's presented in high school social studies textbooks.
We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons.
Imaginary America is the good, bold, brave nation that saw the shadow of tyranny darkening Europe and said, we need to stop this. We need to stand for truth and justice in this world. Until now, right? This is the shift. Until now, or this decade, no one believes it anymore.
Every president after Reagan was one of these deep state criminals, and their empire got even stronger. With each bad president came new depths America and the world would sink. The world collapsed into darkness.
So, I mean, I have my pseudo-psychological explanation of why America is insane, but, it's kind of always been insane. It's kind of always been a skits between appearance and reality, between what we think we do and what we actually do. The thing is that up until recently, everyone, or most people, were kind of the same insane. They didn't notice that they're insane because everyone else was, similar to them. So this Gnostic, paranoiac world demonstrated so artistically by QAnon, this is the reality world too, after the capitalists, Ivy Lee, and all these industries that he spawned got a hold of it.
What if I told you that those who were corrupting the world, poisoning our food, and igniting conflict were themselves about to be permanently eradicated from the earth?
So we are indeed, I would call this, we are experiencing mass esoteria, which seems, pretty insane when you're talking about Illuminati bases under the snow in Antarctica, which is actually a ring around the world.
What's the motive? It's to get you and I to take the shot, aka the mark, with the patent number W020200060606. The technology was cooked up by a spirit cooker who prays to Satan and the world's most prolific pedophile, teaming up with Bill Gates, who right now stands at the threshold of the gates of hell.
But beyond that, I mean, mass esoteria is a pretty reasonable response when we have tons of evidence, good evidence, that we as a public have been the object of manipulation for the 100 years since Ivy Lee kicked this all off. You know what I'm saying? Like money in politics, political media campaigns, professional lobbying, advertising, and propaganda, the news, Hasbro. No, you are. It's this kind of knowing, the knowing that you cannot believe information, knowing that information and misinformation are a matter of quantity, not quality, knowing, like having it revealed that there are string pullers, but not who they are and not really what they want. This is what makes the social world, the world that the public lives in, a delirious place, because the things that you should call knowledge, the things that you know or should know about the world you find yourself thrown into, well, you have good reason to think that someone with a PR job engineered it, that they somehow engineered your desires, beliefs, as an inconsequential part of a crowd that's just exposed to the same slogans repeated over and over and over again. But, don't worry, because together we can rise up. We can take back our belief. The power is in our hand. If only. We did realize, though, information is not measured by truth or falsity, but it's measured by quantity. It's measured by magnitude. So I have to invite you, if you would like to exchange money for the information that I have produced here, of course, I strongly encourage you to do that. This is not really the kind of content that the capitalists are willing to pay for you to see. So if you enjoy it, it'd be great if you could help out, like all these names are doing. Thanks to them. And I'm not asking for your charity. There is something new over there on Patreon every week to listen to or watch. And
yeah, we don't need... But I highly recommend everybody like it. Please, if you are not going to go and watch this yourself later, please go and like the video now so that it can get some love. Feel free to make a comment if you'd like to. It's a pretty good one. I felt pretty good about it. And it inspired quite a bit of conversation. Me just going off on tangents mostly. But it got some comments. Yeah, plastic pills seldom fails. They are a good content creator. Generally does a pretty good job of talking about deep philosophical ideas in a way that kind of gets you to get about that's what you're talking about. So I really appreciate them in the channel and what they do. Go check them out. Brings me over to here. Pretty weird. Also, if any of you have feedback on how you feel about how the overlay is looking, I would enter back on that. Just be right back all the way. Oh, me, I did that. I did that a short while ago. Okay. Maybe a gate issue. Really? Good. Yeah, I might have it set high. I had all of my filters turned off on my microphone before I started stream, and I forgot that I had turned my filters off, and I just turned them back on a minute ago. Is it still? Am I? Just put it. Had the issue. Is it that it's cutting off the beginning of my sentences? That's long been a critique out of this. What's the transparency at for the top? It is set to 60. The opacity on the land back and the Free Palestine both. Yep. When I trail off, it cuts off. Yeah, okay. That's yeah, I've got the set a little bit high. It looks about a foot away. The microphone is not even a full arm's length. The microphone is stretched out. The microphone is there on my wrist, so it's more than a foot, but it's not much more than a foot. I'm pretty close to the microphone. The noise gate, yeah, that's set pretty high. The noise gate is, the open threshold is at 26 dB. Closed threshold is at 32. I don't really know what that means. I just, somebody helped me set them up a long time ago. There is a transparency partially covering the land back and enters. Close OB. Oh, yeah. No, it's not something over it. It's something under it. What you're seeing is the trees behind it. Well, probably that should be there. This is kind of well, I can't see where I'm pointing. But there, you know, lower the gate. Okay. Yeah, I really don't know that much about audio stuff. Bring this down to 40%. Also down. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's worse. But when you said turn the opacity down, you might have meant the other way, to make it less opaque. Turn the opacity down, make it less. Is actually, for the filter, it works the other way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Ignore me gibberishing. So maybe that's better. Well, no, they're on the top of the stack. Land Back and Free Palestine, those banners are on the top. They're in front of everything else. That's at the top of the stack. Yeah, I think that this is fine. It's not an issue here at all. So maybe... Oh, I was going to change the opacity. Filters, which color key? Yeah. Drop these down to that looks. This element. And well, you know, I shouldn't spend too much time really focusing on this either. That's interesting. One's color correction. Oh, yeah, you think so? Drop the opacity? Yeah, especially for above me. I guess that does make. And they're not at the top of the stack here. Top of the stack. Roll the top. Go over here. Yeah, you know what? I think that you might be right about those. About the. I can just. Maybe that is better. Yeah, that does look better, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm still not quite sure. Well, at the top is the best place for them. The top of the bottom. I like the idea of having um the closed caption at the bottom because when I'm watching videos, which I forgot to turn the caption on this one, but the video captions are usually here towards the bottom too. Here towards the bottom. So it just kind of makes sense to leave the bottom of my display kind of open for that. That's fine. That's not cutting me off at all. I don't think that the opacity on the chat really makes enough difference either. And again, like I was saying earlier, it doesn't make any sense for me to be worried about what the chat looks like anyway. Because this is not how I want the chat to be. I still want an integrated chat. I just have not successfully figured out how to make that happen yet. Yeah, anything that keeps them looking consistent. Yeah. Which is why I also moved the don't even worry about the chat self. I need to get over the chat and not worry about it. And I'm not really that worried about the sub goals, I guess. I'm a little bit peeved I can't figure out the sub goal thing. but that's okay. I'm right now. I'm kind of happy with stream elements. I again would like to have a new follower thing. Right.
It'll be anarchy.
And it's so quiet, right? How quiet is that for you all? Can you even hear that at all? It shows up
It'll be anarchy.
on the desktop audio, but it plays at about half the volume that everything else plays. And I'm not sure, it must have just been how I clipped that. I can probably just get a new sound clip of that and do a better job this time is what I'm going to do. Yeah, but that's for the chat. You mean dark mode? I completely agree, and that's why YouTube looks so good with this opacity. It looks fantastic. Great job, YouTube. But I don't. I mean, I can go in and manually change it, but that's the thing. Every single time I stream right now, I'm gonna have to rediscover this source and rediscover this source and then readjust all of the settings every single time. And I just don't want to do that. What I need is for Social Stream Ninja to work like it's supposed to. I just don't know how to yet. But oh, I've got other sound samples.
As long as capitalism remains, the tendency to inequality resumes.
And that's still quieter than I would like it to be too, to be quite honest. If the YouTube videos are playing at right at that volume, sorry, I didn't mean to jump scare anybody there. But if the YouTube videos are playing at that volume, and that's a good volume, I think, then it doesn't make sense for the sound alerts to be so quiet, and they're all at max volume. So,
as long as capitalism remains, the tendency to inequality resumes.
It would also be nice. I would like to. I'll also put text down here. Oh, that's why the counter keeps counting, is because I keep hitting test. Every time I test that counter, since I put the counter on, set the counter for it, it's been adding one. Let me test that hypothesis.
As long as capitalism remains, the tendency to
Maybe
inequality resumes.
Yeah, there it is. It's 6 now. But that's not how I want that to go through. I want that to look differently. 2. And I know how to do that. Ish. Anyway, that's all stuff that I'm going to play around with later after I'm done with the stream, which is kind of now. I've been streaming for 3 hours, which is a little bit shorter than I would ordinarily stream, but also this is not an ordinarily stream day for me, so I think I'm going to call it here. I'm pretty happy. We got through the video. I've been wanting to watch that Plastic Pills video for a while since I saw it came out. It is good. And I'm going to keep tooling around on some of this stuff and trying trying to well, that's the my master volume is well, I mean, I can't, yeah. The solution is for me to have to go through when I'm playing a video, I'll have to adjust it to about there. That's what I would have to do. Is I would have to set that there and then set my volume to here, I'm guessing. And that way I can to the video playing. That's, you know, that's kind of loud. That you know, the neighborhood kids don't let up. They make some noise, so that it's hard for me to speak over the neighborhood kids. But if it was a regular video, if it was Plastic Pills, right, talking,
is as good as mine. It's on its way
well,
towards something, but there's no way to tell what that is, maybe. So there's a big problem with America's class of professional opinion havers. You know, the people that write these kinds of books and these kinds of articles, they're supposed to be experts on
my
this,
master volume
but they don't have any clue what they're
way
talking about. They believe that America...
So let's see...
As long as capitalism remains, the tendency to inequality resumes.
Yeah, I guess that's a little bit better. But then that comes down to when I'm going through and preparing for stream, I've got to go through all of the YouTube videos and I've got to adjust all of their volume as I'm setting up stream, rather than just, you know, searching, open, searching, open, searching. It's because that's usually how I populate my tabs. Is I know what I'm looking for. I type it into the search, it pulls up, and I click and open a new tab. Search for the next thing, click open a new tab. Search for the next thing, click open a new tab. And then I don't have to worry about it when I'm going through stream. Everything is all the same level. I don't have to adjust the videos, but... Oh, yeah, that's not a bad idea. I don't, but there might be a better way for me to be doing my YouTube, because I don't have a dedicated source for that. It's just it's a browser source. It doesn't matter. That is a good idea, Trash and Answer. I'll think about that. I'll think about ways that I can do that. Ways that I can yeah, that would give me some more control if I made those more specific. All right, well, I'm going to get out of here. We've got several viewers, and before everybody leaves, quick, don't leave. Before everybody leaves, then I'm going to raid into somebody so that I can get credit for a raid that has more than one. It's always nice. And hey, look at that. We can stream into the Noisy Immigrant today. Who I love streaming into, because they're awesome. Good. Raids initiated. It didn't even back me out. That's fantastic. Thank you. You too. Yeah, that's what I'm going to try and do, is try and think of ways that I can come up with unique profiles and things like that. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here. Despite it not being a regular stream, thank you for all the contributions in chat. There wasn't a lot of philosophical conversation. That's okay. I did a lot of philosophical rambling, which is always fun for me anyways. So I had a good time. I hope that you all had a good time. All you VOD watchers, I appreciate you all too. I don't think that I've forgotten about you. And everybody, please let me know in the Discord what you think that I can do to make my settings look better and cooler, or what you want me to talk about on stream, and I'll talk about that thing on stream. So again, thank you all for being here. It's always a pleasure, Nisa. It's great to see you. And I hope all of you have a fantastic day. And I'll see you on Wednesday if I don't see you sooner. Until then, be excellent to each other.